Hey, it's James here from GoodGuitarist.com, and today we're gonna learn how to play How Deep Is Your Love by the Bee Gees. You know, lately people have been asking for some more intermediate level content, and this one definitely delivers. Let's just take a quick look at what we'll be learning today.
Your eyes in the morning sun, I feel you touch me in the pouring rain, and the moment you wander far from me, I wanna feel you in my arms again. Then you come to me on a summer breeze, keep me warm in your love, then you softly leave, and it's me you need to show. How deep is your love? How deep is your love? I really need to learn, 'cause we're living in a world of fools, breaking us down when they all should let us be. We belong to you and me.
So this song has 4 distinct finger picking patterns and a whole slew of chords, some of them very basic, some of them bar chords, 7th chords. We're gonna break it all down in the simplest way possible. Before we get started, if you haven't grabbed your copy of my free ebook, I'm gonna put a link down below for that. It's completely free for all my subscribers. And if you enjoy learning guitar with me, like the video, subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. Otherwise, let's just dive right in. Here are the chords for the verse. So we have G, and it doesn't really matter which way you play G, going into B minor 7. And for that, we can play a bar chord where I'm barring the 2nd fret and then adding my ring finger to the 4th fret of the D string and my middle finger to the 3rd fret of the B string. Or we can play it like this, where we play a D chord shape with our every finger except our index, and then we add our index to the 2nd fret of the A string. That works really well too. I prefer the bar chord because it just works better overall. Then we have A minor, E. You know, we're gonna just go through the basic shapes. Back to A minor, B7, and then C/D. And for that one, we basically play a C chord, but just the index finger part of it. Just those top 3 strings, and then the D string. So it's the top 4 strings like that. And before we continue on into the rest of the verse, let's take a look at some finger picking. The pattern goes like this. So I'm on my G chord, my thumb is on the thickest string, my index goes on the 3rd string, that's the G string, and then my middle is on the B string, my ring finger is on the thinnest string. So my 3 fingers are all kind of in a row on the top 3 strings. And I go thumb, index, and then I play my middle and ring together, and then my index. 1 and 2 and we're gonna play that pattern once per chord, except for C/D, where we're gonna add a little bit to it. But let's just begin with this, going between the chord shapes, going G, B minor 7, A minor, or A minor 7, where you just remove your ring finger, and then E. And you'll notice as I go through the chord shapes, my thumb is following the root note. If you're having trouble with that, I recommend getting rid of the pattern and just plucking. G, B minor 7. So my thumb changed to the A string. My thumb stays on the A string. And now my thumb's going back to the E string. And then A minor, B7. And then we will add our pattern to that point in the progression. 3 and 4 and. And then here for C/D, we're gonna start off the same way, but then we're gonna go to create like a bit of a syncopated feel. And our thumb is on the D string for this chord, by the way. And for that second half of the pattern, we go thumb and then our ring and middle together. And then on beat 4, we rest. And then on the and of 4, we play with our index finger. So we got to count that out going 3 and 4 and you work on just that second half, then you add the whole pattern. And then I would, instead of going through the entire verse and then just praying that part works out, let's just back up a couple chord shapes to the A minor B7 part. And once you can do that, then it shouldn't be an issue starting at the very beginning of the verse. Now moving on with our verse, there's no new patterns. I just want to point out that you'll be using our main little 1 and 2 and pattern whenever there's a single chord. But when the chord has one of those little percent signs, that means keep going with the same chord. When you see that, you will play the longer pattern that we did on C/D. So I'm just going to play through this. It's nothing new here. You can just observe and see what's going on. 3 and 4 and. And that is the verse. Now moving on to the pre-chorus, we're going to need some new chord shapes and a new pattern. Once again, we'll start with the chords. We have C major 7, which is just a C chord minus our index finger. B minor 7, which we've already covered. A minor 7, and then D minor over F. And for that one, I'm going to put my index on F. That's the first note of the thickest string, the first fret, sorry. And then my ring finger is on the second fret of the G string, and my pinky is on the third fret of the B string. You can play this with just your first 3 fingers, your index, middle, and ring, but I prefer using my ring and pinky. It doesn't feel as stretchy that way. And we're going to be plucking the thickest string for our root, and then our fingers actually move up here to the D, G, and B strings. And that's something that you can do for a lot of these chord shapes. Your fingers don't have to be on the top 3 strings. They can be on the next 3. I just move them over once, and that works fine too for a lot of these shapes. But for this one, you'll need to do it. And let's just stop right there and add our finger picking pattern to those 4 chord shapes. It goes like this. And that's a more classic, ballad finger picking pattern. We're on our C major 7 shape. My 3 fingers are on the top 3 strings. My thumb's on the root on the A string. And I just go through my fingers from thumb to ring, just in order. And then on beat 3, we're resting, preparing for middle, index, middle. So thumb, index, middle, ring, rest, middle, index, middle. You can just see it up there. It's really important to count it out. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Just try it a bunch of times. It sounds really beautiful with this C major 7 shape. You can just relax and enjoy, just hearing that pattern over and over, getting that muscle memory going. And we're going to do that one time on C major 7 and then into B minor 7 and so on. And when we get to that D minor over F, remember we have to move our fingers over 1 string each. And then we have another B minor 7. And finally, we have C over D again. And this time it's with our 4th and final pattern. Goes like this. So it's just my thumb and then all my fingers together. And I just go thumb, fingers, fingers, thumb, fingers, fingers. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you might want to just isolate that. And for me, the hardest part isn't necessarily playing any of these patterns individually. It's going between them. And I have a full playthrough of this, by the way, available for members of my website. There's a link down below for that. We'll talk more about that later. But what I'm getting at is as I'm playing the full playthrough, it's like, yeah, I can play this song my own way and it's pretty close to this. But when I'm trying to play the exact transitions at the exact times, the way that I'm teaching it, it's not as easy as when you're just kind of flowing with it and just being like, yeah, I didn't play that pattern exactly, but it got the same vibe, you know? So keep that in mind. You don't have to learn this exactly. I'm just demonstrating what will work over every single section of the song, and you are free to experiment and change a finger here or a thing there, and it's gonna sound probably even better. Anyways, let's go through our pre-chorus now. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... All right, next up we have the chorus, and this is probably the most straightforward part of the song. We're using the same consistent pattern the entire time. We're using the second one that we learned. It goes like this. And we're gonna play it like the same amount of times over every chord. So here we have the chords. In terms of new chords here, we're going from G into C minor, which is a bar chord. If you're playing that B minor 7 as a bar chord, it's just 1 fret higher, and we're keeping our pinky in there because C minor 7 doesn't sound good here. We gotta play the real C minor. And then G, D minor over F, which we've already done. But something here that I like to do is barring the top 2 strings with my pinky and then keeping my fingers, my picking fingers on the top 3 strings. And that's just more of like an intermediate, advanced kind of thing you can do that keeps these 2 strings ringing on the top. It makes that part of the song a little more consistent, but you're welcome to do it more like where we change to the other strings with our picking fingers. Either way, following that, we have an E7, which is easy to switch into since our pinky's already on the 3rd fret from that D minor over F. And then A minor, C minor. So there's a lot of chord switching going on here, but at least the pattern's consistent, right? And you might want to just go through it going like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
To learn, 'cause we're living in a world of fools, breaking us down when they all should let us be. To you and me.
You know, just to kind of get used to which strings to pluck, getting the chords right, and then you can add the picking pattern. I'll do it nice and slow. 3 and 4 and... Now there is one more part of the song, and that is the intro. And I like to use the same pattern from the pre-chorus. And we start off on a G, but I'm just playing it with 2 fingers. My middle finger on the 3rd fret of the thickest string, my ring finger on the 3rd fret of the thinnest string. And then we switch to G major 7, where I'm removing my ring finger and now I'm adding my index to the 2nd fret of the thinnest string. Then C major 7, and then C over D, and we're doing the pattern number 4 on that one. And we just repeat that whole thing. 3 and 4 and... Now, when it comes to putting the entire song together, you start with that intro, and then you just go verse, pre-chorus, chorus. Verse, pre-chorus, chorus. verse, pre-chorus, chorus. One of those verses is technically an instrumental, but you're playing the same thing in terms of the, finger picking stuff. There's just instrumental stuff instead of somebody singing, right? And then we play so just G and B minor like we would on the verse, and then that C over D thing 2 times. And then we do another chorus. So we just kind of add that at the end of the song after doing verse, pre-chorus, chorus 3 times. So in terms of the assembly, it's pretty straightforward. It's just a matter of learning all these different parts. And if you need any extra help with that, I have a full playthrough where we go from start to finish playing through the entire song. That's available for members of my website. And on top of that, members also receive access to all my courses, access to my community where you can ask me questions and get feedback. It's a whole thing. I'll put some information down below for that if you are interested in checking it out. Otherwise, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy learning guitar with me. I hope you enjoyed this intermediate level content, and have a fun time practicing. I'll see you soon.